I can remember noticing it, and can remember not thinking too much about it. Every once in a while, a strong odor would fill the air, sometimes faintly hanging around, other times creeping up on you. It would get so strong and come out of nowhere, the source having to be very close, but nothing could ever be found. When I say these smells would get strong, I mean they were strong, enough to wake you from your sleep with the windows closed. On several occasions after getting home from work, my wife would tell me that a skunk must have been near the house. Although she had never seen this skunk, she could smell it, thinking that it must be close because of how powerful the odor would get. It seemed like the smart thing to do was to keep the kids and the dogs inside for the time. One evening after getting out of the shower, I went into the living room to hang out with the family for a little while before going to bed. As soon as I walked into the room, I noticed it. At that same time, she tells me, "That skunk is around again." I responded with, "That doesn't smell like a skunk." In total agreement that it did indeed smell skunk-like, something was just off. Being very similar to what you would smell passing a dead skunk on the road after it had been run over, this odor seemed somewhat different. My thoughts at the time was that it must be something that had been sprayed by a skunk. Probably those raccoons that I can't keep out of the garbage cans. The rotten odor of their damp fur after being covered in garbage night after night, mixed with the smell from being sprayed by a skunk. It was the best I could come up with at the time. For some reason, the raccoons here were very aggressive, coming into the yard in the middle of the day, attacking our pet duck and killing it, right in front of the wife and kids. Another time, there was one attacking an opossum on our road, right in front of the house mid-afternoon. I have that one on video. With this raccoon problem going on, that's where my thoughts went to first. Besides, skunks don't just go around spraying all the time. I had been closer to skunks than I would have liked to have been, multiple times. Not one of those times was I able to smell them. The skunk-like smell may have been the first, but it was not the only odor noticed. Oftentimes suddenly getting a whiff of a sulfur-like smell. It reminded me of riding quads and dirt bikes on the slag dumps near where I grew up. Every puddle touched out there released a strong sulfur-like smell, spraying all over us and our bikes, clouds of steam from that water hitting the hot motors and exhaust. The smell burned into my nostrils, as well burned into my memory. The entire hillside behind the house being covered in loose stone, probably mined in the past. Maybe that's causing the smell. It just didn't make sense though. Only at certain times would it be noticeable. Not after a hard rain on a hot day, nor after sliding around on the hillside disturbing the loose stone, filling the air randomly and suddenly for no apparent reason. Several instances searching around for a dead animal, trying to find where the scent of death is coming from. None were ever found. Most commonly, had to be this animal smell, kind of like something your nose would detect on a farm or even in a zoo. Reminded me a lot of a sweaty horse. It was odd, the strength of it. I would have to be standing right next to it. To smell just about any animal like that, you would have to press your face against it. I should have at least been able to see or hear something. Even though I did think it to be a little weird, I honestly didn't think too much about it. We were in a new location and still adjusting to the area. Like a fool, going by what I thought I knew. Time after time, it was brushed off, dismissed, and reasoned away. Then I began to notice. It's as though I can feel these odors, finning my eyes glued to the windows, each time the smell found its way into the house, being startled awakey from a deep sleep to full alert. My attention straight to the window at the back of the house, feeling as if I were being watched. It was around this time I got myself a new bow. The Kodiak Magnum I had been hunting with for several years now may have been a little too short for my draw length. The limbs now covered in lines of stress. It was time for retirement. Already halfway through archery season, I needed to get the feel for my new toy, and quick. Shooting instinctively, there are no sights to adjust or any other mechanical advantages. Concessive shooting, becoming familiar, and feeling where that arrow will go when that string is dropped. Being all I had to work with, so shooting as much as possible all that I could do, that is what I was doing. Not having a lot of free time during the day, shooting under the lights set up over my 3D targets. Starting around 8 or 9 p.m. till around 10 or 11 p.m. Every night I flung countless arrows, and each time my practices would be cut short. Sometimes, I had already noticed the odor. Other times, the feeling hit me first. Walking across the yard to retrieve my arrows, it enveloped me quickly and unexpectedly. Almost the same way a sudden cold raindrop falls on the back of your neck without warning. That sensation of the cold in an uncomfortable place. The tensioning of your body as you try to tolerate it. The goosebumps and the hair on your body standing on end from the chill. That is how it felt, and that is when I would call it a night. These odors starting to seem a little strange, and the uncomfortable feeling that would sometimes accompany them. That is when I started paying more attention to the strange sounds. This is when things begin to become truly bizarre.